I think it's hard because I think the only thing you can really say is sort of keep your chin up and get support where you can. Don't be a hero, ask for help.
Welcome to this episode of the Bump in the Road podcast. Bump in the Road is brought to you by Derbyshire Family Health Service, part of Derbyshire Community Services NHS Foundation Trust. Today, Naomi is sharing the story of her pregnancy that was full of medical complications, resulting in her son being born 2 months early. Naomi talks about her pregnancy, having a newborn on the neonatal unit in hospital, and the ups and downs of being a parent to a 1-year-old. Please be warned that this podcast may cover topics that are sensitive for you. If you feel like you need support, our contact details are listed at the end.
So, I really struggled with pregnancy, if I'm honest. It was fine. At the beginning, I had all the sort of standard, expected the sort of nausea, expected to feel tired, expected everything that came with it. I fell pregnant at quite an unusual time because I found out I was pregnant 2 days before I was going out to work in South Africa for 3 weeks. So I basically found out sort of in the midst of packing all my stuff and yeah, I was flying out there alone. So it was a bit overwhelming as well because obviously I was going away from all my family just when I found out, and then having to be in another country and deal with all the stuff that comes with pregnancy as well. But that was fine, got on with it, it was all okay. And then when I came home, we had a early sort of reassurance scan at I think I was about 9 weeks, and everything looked great. Saw the health visitor booked in for my 12-week scan, and on the day of my 12-week scan, I basically got rushed to hospital because I had a massive bleed. I effectively thought that I was miscarrying, and obviously, thankfully, I wasn't. But I had a what they call a subchorionic hematoma, and they're quite common. Quite a lot of people get them, and it's basically just a bleed in your uterine lining. I'm not medical, that might be slightly wrong, but you know what I mean. And it's just a bleed, and usually they sort of shrink and disappear over time. But mine got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where at its biggest size, it was about 7 by 8 centimeters. So it was huge, and it was a lot bigger than the baby at the time. And they basically said that they don't know what's going to happen, but I had basically the same amount of chance as miscarrying as I did keeping obviously the baby and staying pregnant. So I got put on immediate bed rest, and then I was on bed rest from sort of 11, 12 weeks until I was 24 weeks. So I had to stop. Well, I'm very lucky. I didn't have to stop working. I had to stop going into work. I could work from home. So luckily, I was able to occupy my brain, but I was sort of stuck in bed, and I got told not to lift anything heavy and not to do too much. And it was sort of very obvious when I had done too much because I'd have sort of recurring bleeds and then end up having to go back to hospital. And so it wasn't super fun. When I got to 24 weeks, I had a scan, and they basically said it's still there, but it's sort of resolving, and the baby's at a size now where we're not too worried. And my consultant, because I was under the maternal fetal medicine unit, my consultant effectively said, I can't see any reason why you won't go to term now. They were never going to let me go past 37, 38 weeks. I was going to have to be induced because of all the it had done some damage to my placenta and it caused some internal complications. So they were always going to bring me early, but he didn't think that I was going to have any problem getting to 37 weeks at that point. And then I got to 29 weeks. That sort of 5-week period was actually really the only part of my pregnancy which was I sort of enjoyed, because I was able, I mean, it was January, so it was raining and a lot of people don't really want to go and do anything anyway, do they? So I think I had sort of one evening out for my friend's birthday where we did an escape room, and I went for dinner with my family once, and just did a couple of normal things after being completely trapped in the house for 12, 13 weeks. And so that was a nice period. I sort of relaxed a bit, felt like I could actually start buying some things for the baby, because up until that point I didn't want to jinx anything, and also didn't want to be left with a room full of stuff for a baby that obviously didn't materialize. So that was like my nice little window of normality. And then I got to 29 weeks, and I was just getting over. I'd actually ended up getting food poisoning. So I'd been quite poorly with that, and I was having quite a lot of Braxton Hicks contractions, which I think are normal. And so they said, oh, you need to stay hydrated as much as possible, try and relax, have a bath, do all those things that they suggest to sort of ease those contractions. And they said it's completely normal. Your body's sort of just gearing up as well. You're getting later into your pregnancy. So I thought that's fine. And these sort of went on and on to the point where I was like, I'm not overly happy. So I went into the hospital, and they checked me, and they said, we can see them. We can see that you're having the contractions, but we're not super worried about them. They're not really heavy. They're not like labor contractions. So I thought that's fine. So again, they told me to go home, have a bath, and basically that night I again had another hemorrhage, bleed, and got taken to hospital in an ambulance, and then, which was my first time in an ambulance. It was all very dramatic. And then I was in hospital for about a week, and I went into full labour, and he came early. So he came at 32 weeks and 1 day. Because I never sought any help beyond wanting to know sort of the facts around what was happening, if that makes sense. I wanted information on my pregnancy. I wanted the sort of scientific backing behind what was happening to me, and what my sort of odds were, and what other people's experiences were. And it's as is a lot of things with women's health, unfortunately, is wildly under researched. So we didn't really have much to go on in terms of any sort of reassurance. But that's the way I sort of deal with things, is like logic and facts, and trying to make it make sense in my head, if that makes sense. So I didn't really let myself explore the emotional side of it, because I didn't really want to address that, if that makes. I've kind of out of sight, out of mind, and just tried to sort of get on with it. And don't get me wrong, I definitely had sort of very low moments and very low days, but not to the point where I actually sought any sort of help, because I was putting all my energy in trying to get answers and see doctors and understand what was happening. My family were great. I mean, when it first sort of happened, my mum sort of scooped me up and took me home and cooked me food, and basically I just sort of regressed back to being a child that was completely looked after by their mum. So that was lovely. My husband was great and very supportive. Fundamentally, there wasn't too much anyone could do beyond just sort of being there and being there for me, having the dogs, having someone around the house in the day, because obviously my husband couldn't stop working, just because I was home on bed rest. So that was lovely. Little things like, I'd sort of watch TV programs that I'd watched before that were sort of comforting, if that makes sense. And I'd sort of say to myself, right, well, this week I'm going to watch X, Y, Z. And by the time I've finished this, I'm going to be 22 weeks pregnant, and like sort of ticking off the time as well, and trying to sort of pass the time. So, because obviously being on bed rest, even though I was able to work as well, there's still a lot of time to think, and I didn't want to let myself get too sort of down with it. So my newborn experience was quite different. because so when my son was born, he was transferred to the neonatal unit. So those first few weeks of having a newborn, I don't think I went through a lot of things that kind of new mums go through as standard. I guess things that everyone expects. That quite a lot of it the nurses were doing for me. So sort of changing the first nappy and doing the feeds and those sorts of things. So my focus was more on sort of being there and getting to the hospital and those sorts of things. So it was a struggle. It was really hard having a newborn and not being able to bring him home as well. And it was hard having to leave him in the hospital as well, and me being at home. So that wasn't super easy. Once we got him home, I think we basically just then had the same struggles that everybody else has. You're tired, you're not showered, you're the very standard sort of new parent things that people experience. I did struggle quite a lot personally with visitors and people coming to meet the baby. I really struggled, and I think as well because the hospital had said to me you have to be really careful with the kind of exposure to germs and things, because he was 8 weeks premature and didn't have even the immune system of a newborn, which has no immune system anyway. So I was really worried about that initially. I found when I actually had visitors, just seeing other people holding my baby, I found really hard. And especially, I think I found it especially hard before his due date, because I thought, well, he's still meant to be inside me, you shouldn't be holding him. So I think I really struggled with that, which I didn't expect to. I expected to want to introduce him to the world, and then when it actually came to it, I just wanted everyone to go away in the nicest way possible. Yeah, but I think beyond that, obviously we had just the same struggles that everyone does. I didn't have any sort of professional support. I didn't seek any professional support either. But having friends that have been through pregnancy and the newborn stage and all the same struggles. I had a friend that gave birth sort of 2-3 weeks after me, so we were very much in the sort of newborn stages together. I also kept in touch with some of the people I was in the hospital with, and because I was in the hospital for over a week before I ended up having him, and I was on a ward with 3 other women, and we actually all ended up having premature babies within a week of each other. Actually having other people that are going through almost the exact same experience was nice as well, because it just adds an extra sort of layer of worry and complication to, I guess, already a tough time for people. So that was nice. I think once I got out of that sort of like wanting to keep my baby in a bubble and not take him anywhere or do anything, I think once I got out of that stage, it's been great. And I hesitate to say I've found him easy, because I have not found him easy in any way, because he's a baby, but I've enjoyed the normality of his challenges, if that makes any sense at all. I just felt like after we reached his due date, that I was able to just sort of reset, and now I have a newborn baby that's just like every other newborn baby, and took it from there, really. So I think especially it helped going into sort of summer months. I mean, everyone's a bit happier in summer, aren't they? So being able to take him outside for walks and meet up with friends outside and go visit family and sit in the garden and just do nice things. And it's just got better and better, really. And now his personality's coming out, and he's, I mean, happy one minute and then shouting at me the next, and all the normal things. So yeah, I've really, really enjoyed it massively. So it's, yeah, much better. Having friends in the same situation, I'm very lucky that I've got a lot of friends who are parents as well. So understand the sort of joys and struggles, and kind of being in that together really is just lovely. And it's sort of like it's being part of sort of like the best club, isn't it? So it's really, really nice. I think starting to do things like it took me quite a while to feel confident to take him to things like, you know, the baby classes and that sort of thing. And once I started doing things like that with him as well, and something that I can see him enjoying, is really lovely. So there's just lots of little things, seeing him interacting with family, and taking him, I took him on holiday, which was lovely with my family. Just stuff like that has been really nice. I think it's hard because I think the only thing you can really say is sort of keep your chin up and get support where you can. Don't be a hero, ask for help. And yeah, just, I guess, trust that everything's going to be okay. And then yeah, deal with problems sort of as they arise. Don't try and overthink. Don't try and think ahead and what if this happens and what if that happens. Just take each day as it comes, I think is the best.
If you're struggling with your well-being during pregnancy or with your baby and you feel like you need some support, you can contact Derbyshire Family Health Service on 01246 515100 and make an appointment with a health visitor. You can also text us on 07507 327769. This is a confidential text messaging service for parents-to-be and parents and carers of 0 to 5-year-olds, providing advice and support from one of our healthcare professionals from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m, excluding bank holidays. You can also visit our website at derbyshirefamilyhealthservice.nhs.uk.